synagogue. So, I am thrilled to welcome all of you this afternoon. I am particularly thrilled to welcome Cary, who is not only a friend of mine, but of course a friend of our congregation, who has spent far too much time out in the desert. And so we are thrilled that he is back in Milwaukee. And this is a presentation that he has been working on for a while. I was entitled to have a preview of this, which I have thanked him for. And I look forward now to sharing the entire presentation with him and with all of you. And so Cary has done a wonderful job of bringing us all kinds of different topics that he has educated us about. And this is what I've been looking forward to hearing for a long time, because until I previewed some of Cary's stuff, I had no idea the history and how ultimately, both in Belgium and then in Israel, that in so many ways we've been at the center of the diamonds. And so thank you, Cary, again for doing it. And I thought I saw Susie back there for a moment.
Wave to him.
Hi, Susie. And so we're thrilled again to welcome you home, even though you've been here for a while, and we're looking forward to this afternoon. So thank you.
Thank you, Rabbi. Andrew, we're going to start with Ken Stein.
Absolutely.
Okay. Hello, everybody. It's an honor to be asked to appear before you and introduce this program. It came about from about 3 years ago after Cary spoke to the Jewish Community Center Senior Men's Club about Jewish cowboys. And I had mentioned to Cary that perhaps he could write something about the diamond business, which is so important to all of us. And guess what he did? He grabbed the bull by the horns and went from cowboys to diamonds. And I thought that was fantastic. It's a premiere. He is giving a premiere it's a topic that all Jewish people should have some understanding of. And it is a who, what, where, and why of the diamond business. And it's my pleasure to say thank you, Cary. It's a wonderful presentation. And any accolades you well deserve. And I thank everybody. Good. Go ahead, Cary. Give it to them good.
Thank you, Ken. Andrew, you want to bring it up the screen? Okay. Well, we're going to have a little journey here that's going to cover many countries, as you'll see as we start the presentation. Andrew? We're thanking Kenny. Kenny felt I wasn't busy enough, so he found something else for me to do in my retirement, besides writing 3 books. Let's go. One of the questions I posed when I previewed this in Arizona at Limud, the Jewish Day of Learning, in February of this year, was asking all the ladies to please look at their engagement rings and think about where that diamond came from. And after the presentation, you'll realize that they're not all from South Africa. You'll be surprised. Now, many countries were involved in the development of Israel's diamond industry, as we will see. Spain, Portugal, India, Belgium, Great Britain, South Africa, and even Russia. We'll first start with the background on Israel. In 1937, the first diamond polishing plant was opened in Petah Tikva, Palestine, by refugees from the Netherlands. Palestine Diamond Club was founded in Tel Aviv at that time also. In 1951, Israel Diamond Exchange formally established in Tel Aviv. Now we have a gap of 37 to 1951, and you'll see why. 2016, diamonds accounted for 28% of Israel's total exports. 5.6 billion in polished stones were exported. That's a tremendous amount of money and value of diamonds going across the world. Now, Israel is one of the three major centers for polishing diamonds alongside Belgium and India. And you will see the country India keep on popping up. And you will find as we go through the presentation that India was the first country to provide diamonds on the world markets. The United States is Israel's largest partner and market for the polished stones, with 48% of their exports. Hong Kong, 28%, Switzerland, 8%. Now, I think after what's going on in Asia, Hong Kong might change, and we'll find someplace else for Israel to market those diamonds because of what's going on with Red China. Now, how did Israel become a power in the diamond business? Is a question that I was interested in after Kenny got me started on this journey. It appears that it started in India at 500 and 700 BCE. That's a long time ago. India's role in the creation of the precious jewels dates back to the 11th century when Marco Polo traveled along the coast of India in 1292. Now, our journey starts with the persecution of Jews in Europe in the 1400s. And as with the presentations on the Jewish cowboys of the Old West, the Jewish pirates of the Caribbean, and other presentations I've done, Jews of Cuba, everything finds its way back into 1492 and the Catholic Church. The Catholic Church condemned the handling of the money and goods by Jews in Europe, and we were ousted from the guilds, so we had to find other trades in order to survive. In 1470, Ludwig van Berksen, a Flemish diamond polisher, invented the schaaf, a polishing wheel infused with a mixture of oil and diamond dust. According to Ken Stein, who I feel is an expert, this was the turning point in the marketing of diamonds. The wheel had a mechanical arm to hold the diamond in the required position to be polished rather than being held by the human hand. And this discovery aided diamond cutting to become a traditional Jewish craft. So we got into the diamond business because we were thrown out of other businesses. So we always find a way to flourish. 1492, a dark date in Jewish history, the Alhambra decree, when 1497, 5 years later, in Portugal. The crypto Jews fled to Morocco, the Ottoman Empire, the Netherlands, Antwerp, where Ashkenazi Jews had settled since the 1200s. That's a fact that when I stumbled upon that, I couldn't believe that Ashkenazi Jews were in Antwerp since the 1200s. In the 1600s, the wealthy Jewish diamond traders now living in the Netherlands financed the Dust East India Company and exploration of the new routes to India. Amsterdam's Jews were working in the diamond trade, and several of the Sephardic refugees had maintained their connections with Portuguese traders who now had a monopoly on the trade of raw diamonds from India. So again, India, India, India. But the other thing we should take away from this is that when the Jews left Spain, they first went to Portugal and they went to the northern part of Africa. And then they found their way to the Netherlands. And as many of you know, and probably some of you have visited, the Portuguese synagogue that's in the Netherlands was established by these Jews. In the 1870s, diamonds were now discovered in South Africa. And Harry and Barnett, or he was nicknamed Barney Barnato from UK, started the Barnato Diamond Mining Company in 1871. So it wasn't until the 1870s, the end of the 19th century, that South Africa became a player in the diamond industry. This name should be one that you recognize, Rhodes. Cecil Rhodes, one of the first businessmen to rent out pumping equipment to South African miners. But because of his monopoly on this, by the 1880s, he held an enormous number of diamond claims that justified the creation of a separate company. And he is the father of the Rhodes Scholarship. So the Rhodes Scholarship money has its basis in the diamond industry. In the 1880s, Cecil, a protege of Rothschild family, purchased the BDMC company and creates the Beers Consolidated Mines in 1888. And you will see as we go through the presentation that there's constant consolidation in the diamond industry in South Africa. Not a lot of competition. When the competition becomes big enough, so the bigger companies buy them up, which keeps the price of diamonds high. 1900s, there are 700 diamond cutters in Antwerp, and Yiddish is the main language that is used there. Again, in the 1900s, Ernest Oppenheimer forms Consolidated Mines of South Africa West in 1919, right after World War I, and built a monopoly equal to De Beers. Here's what I was saying to before. De Beers buys Consolidated for stock and gives Oppenheimer a seat on the board. Big consolidation within the diamond industry. Armenian genocide in 1915. The Armenians are to Jewry what the Swiss are to watches, says Pierre Akinlinian, an American Jewelers Foundation. He says, Jewry is in our DNA going all the way back to Mesopotamia. So the Armenian Jews were much involved in the diamond industry as well. In 1929, Ernest Oppenheimer, a German-born Jew, became chairman of De Beers and the most powerful man in the diamond industry. Ernest Oppenheimer bought diamonds from the Cullinan mine on behalf of a London-based diamond broker. And then De Beers purchased the Cullinan and regained control of the world's diamond market. So again, constant battles here over who controls the diamond industry in South Africa. 1940s, right after the beginning of World War II, Antwerp lost 30,000 Jews to the Nazis' occupation and the death camps. And many European Jews were able to immigrate to the United States and arrive with a rich understanding of the diamond industry. New York's 47th Street, where as a kid I used to go with my mother all the time when she was getting things reset or fixed, was the hub of the US diamond industry, where today you find 2,600 brokers and cutters. This question came up after the presentation in Lumud in Arizona in February. Was Nelson Mandela involved in the diamond industry at all? Because when Nelson Mandela became the president of South Africa, he had concerns about how people were being treated in the mines. And he and Harry Oppenheimer, the late chairman of De Beers, became friends. He was sympathetic to the anti-apartheid movement and supported the creation of black labor unions. And they grew closer after Mandela was elected president. So until Mandela came into power, the diamond miners were not organized. Harry Oppenheimer died. Andrew, can you pin this to the top because I'm losing some of the content? Or make the slide smaller. Ernest Oppenheimer died in 1957, and his son Harry assumed the role of chairman of De Beers. He directed that Israel receive the necessary diamond production in order to establish as Israel as one of the world's diamond polishing and exporting centers. So Oppenheimer was very much involved in the establishment of Israel in the diamond business. In 2018, Israel exported 4.48 billion in diamonds, a drop from 2.5% the previous year. So what's happening today on 47th Street? India's role grew with the recession of 2008, when the need for low-cost gems was at an all-time high. And today, Yiddish is spoken in the diamond district by traders from India who cut and supply many of the smaller stones. There'll be an updated bibliography put on Facebook and on the synagogue site by Susan. Some of these URLs are not functioning as well as they should. So if you want to check on the information, you have to go to the updated URLs. So that we're ready to answer any questions, Kenny and I, that you might have about Israel's involvement or the Jewish involvement in the diamond industry.
What we can do is, if you have a question, please raise your hand and I can unmute you. Let's start with George.
I've heard that Nelson Mandela has some tendencies to be anti-Jewish. Is that true or not true, as far as you know, considering his relationship with the Oppenheimers? And were the Oppenheimers practicing Jews?
In the literature that I read, I didn't find anything about him being anti-Semitic, but the Oppenheimers were in and out of Judaism. Let's put it that way, George. The commitment to Judaism was in and out, but there was a sympathy for Israel. There was a bar mitzvah in there, but there was also intermarriage.
Very good. Next question, Dan Wilkinson.
Are there any diamond mines in Israel?
To my knowledge, no. Kenny?
My knowledge, no, I have not seen anything. You've got to go to, if you go to Israel, you've got to go to, I think it's Ramat Gan. That's where the jewelry trade main area is, in Ramat Gan.
I see. Thank you.
Beth Ann?
Leslie just woke up.
Thank you. I know this is fast forwarding, but I was wondering, what you recently mentioned was that in 2018, was it 2018, where you're saying that people in India they speak Yiddish in the diamond trade?
The people that trade in diamonds in 47th Street have learned Yiddish. And Ken has been there and heard them speak Yiddish.
But they still are, but they're not necessarily Jewish, but because the association's so involved, they've learned it?
Yeah, this is very similar to when I was with JH Collectibles. We worked with a factory in Colombia, in Medellin, and we called the management up to Milwaukee because we were having a problem. And in walked two Korean gentlemen who spoke fluent Spanish, who were running the plant for a Korean investor in Medellin, Colombia. So we're truly in an international business.
Wow, thank you.
I see Jersey and Russ.
The Indians are very, very big on 47th Street in that area in New York. And I mean, it is amazing to walk down the street and see somebody from India speaking Yiddish.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, I'd like to, or we would like to answer the Nelson Mandela question with a little more particularity. Nelson Mandela was in fact a very good friend of the Jews. When Mandela got out of law school, he was unable to find a job, and a Jewish law firm hired him, and he was a lawyer in the Jewish law firm for some time. From that day forward, he had a close working relationship with the Jews in South Africa. We've been there. We have spoken at some length with Ted Weber, who is Jewish, who was a good friend of Mandela's, and Ted walked us through the whole history of Nelson Mandela and the Jews.
You know, Russ, Merce, thank you, because I'll do a little research on that and I will add that into the presentation.
Okay, thank you.
I saw Lois Brasner.
Just a quick question. If we go back to the 47th Street comments, I'm so curious, what's the atmosphere like with two such diverse groups together in the same industry? Can you comment at all on, is it a dog-eat-dog environment? Is it mutual admiration? What is the environment like with two different cultures in the same business, elbow to elbow?
Excuse me, you're asking, say that again.
Getting
I missed
along
something.
together.
I missed something what you said.
Yeah, I'll just summarize it by saying, what's the working relationship like between people from India and the Jews on 47th Street? They're competitors. What's it like?
Their ultimate goal is no different. And I don't think there is absolutely any problem, because it's livelihood. They're all making a living. And my little experience from that is just saying that there is a colorblind.
Lois, if I might add, what the diamonds that the Indians are selling mostly are smaller diamonds, the 1 carats, the 1.5 carats, the 2 carats. The big diamonds are still coming out of North Africa. I mean, coming out of South Africa, excuse me.
Mark Holland.
I mean, obviously, most of the diamond mining is done in South Africa, and I would think Canada. But where else in the world are diamonds mined in significant quantities, or are those just the two countries?
Russia is getting into the market now with
I had a
diamonds.
feeling you'd say that, yeah.
But the question is quality. And the quality is coming from South Africa and from India. Am I correct, Ken?
The quality is coming from there. It's an interesting note. The Russians have huge, huge, huge quantities of diamonds. The problem is those out of Russia, many of our, if you remember a few years ago, champagne or brown diamonds. And this is where a lot of it came from. What you need is white or colors that the public want. And that champagne diamond lasted a short time. And it has not held. For quality, especially since what we've had since 2008 or 9, is still quality diamonds.
Just a follow-up to that. So the lesser quality diamonds, is there an industrial application to it or any market for the lesser quality diamonds?
Heavy industrial. They were using some industrial diamonds in 09 and 10 to produce low cost diamond jewelry out of Hong Kong, China, and India.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Any other, is that Susan Marcus?
Yes.
If you'll unmute yourself. We're not hearing you yet. Look for that little microphone and then tap on it.
I didn't know you were talking to me.
Yeah. and Susan, we can come back to you if you find your, if you find out how to unmute yourself. I can't, unfortunately, it won't let me do it for you.
Have your voice.
Many years ago, there were discussions about blood diamonds. Do either one of you want to comment on that?
Well, there's a whole nother story about blood diamonds. There are and I'll let Kenny really talk to it, but there's also a problem in the diamond mines. If you want to talk about security and checking people who come out of a plant, people are smuggling diamonds out of the mines. They swallow them, they do other things in order to get them out. So there's some illegal diamonds on the marketplace, but the blood diamonds are diamonds that we use to support rebellious armies. They paid for the munitions. Am I correct, Kenny?
That's what happened. I can't remember the countries where the war was. This is not recent. This goes back into the 1980s.
Rhodesia, I think it was.
Yeah, but a couple other little countries, and there were massive wars. So the diamonds were coming out of South Africa or the mines, and yes, they are a big security problem, but these people are abject poverty. What they were paying, many of them were paying, were not very good. And they are, the big problem is, and you don't hear much of it, is because they're not identifiable. You would have a diamond from Wisconsin, or a diamond, by the way, from Arkansas. We've had some diamonds there in Wisconsin and in Arkansas. It's not identifiable. So when they're mixed together, this was a problem when they were trying to find out and boycott and this type of thing. But this last 10 years, I have heard just about nothing. It's nil. It hasn't been in the papers. It hasn't been on the internet, anything like that.
It's a highly controlled industry. Highly controlled industry.
Very. Otherwise, diamonds would be
very cheap.
Susan Marcus, it looks like we've got you off mute.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Ah, okay. I wanted to know, is this a good market time for diamonds? I have no idea how the market works for diamonds. Now, I got my diamond ring from a gentleman, Mr. Harry Stein, and probably the most beautiful diamond I have ever seen. So now I would just like to know about the market now. Is it a good investment?
Kenny?
Oh, I've said this all my life, being in the business. A diamond and jewelry is aesthetic for you. It is a piece that represents something for an individual. When you talk about investment, it is no different than about art, pictures, this type of thing. There are very few items that have very heavy value, because first you have to take off the cost, and then the intermediate profits, and then you have the price that you paid. Well, over time, of course, you have inflation. So there is some value to your diamonds, but it has to go forward. If you buy jewelry or you buy diamonds or precious stones, you're buying it for your embellishment. Gold has a value. Many stones are left in the gold since 2008 or 9, when gold took off. By the way, it's $1,900 per ounce now. There isn't as much gold around. But the diamond dealers left the diamonds in the gold, and they actually smelted many of the diamonds. There are times then the jewelers had a lot of stock that they kept out of this jewelry when they were buying like crazy, the gold in 9, 10, 11, and 12. So it took over the market. Yes, there is a value to diamonds. However, it is not the value of a true investment. So you just have to remember that. You're buying something that you like.
Susan, I would say from the man's point of view, a diamond is an investment in the happiness of the marriage. George. You have to unmute George, okay.
Is the diamond industry either nationally or internationally subject to any antitrust laws? You were mentioning that they sometimes keep product off the market to keep the prices high. So is there any antitrust law or any type of legal control over the diamond industry to have it, shall we say, priced fairly and avoid the elimination of competition?
Let me talk from the point of view of somebody who taught law at a graduate level, that the antitrust laws in the United States are the United States antitrust laws and do not affect what goes on in South Africa or in Belgium or any place else. What it says is that you cannot have people who sell diamonds in the United States get together and set the price and say, we're not going to sell 2 carats less than this. I think Ken will agree with me. Diamonds are so individual when you look at them for cut and quality that it's pretty hard to say this one and this one should be the same price. They're all individually priced. Am I right, Ken?
Definitely. Color, cut, clarity, and carat. And you and your eye. And everybody wants to make a sale. So it would be pretty hard to put any restraints on it.
Norm, Melvin?
Didn't the Israelis also invent the fingerprinting technique for identifying your diamond?
Well, it's a good question. I wouldn't doubt it. I could only say I don't know.
Okay.
Because they also identify by laser, putting laser numbers on the girdle of diamonds.
Right, but I thought that was an Israeli technique.
You know what? By the time you x-ray that diamond, by the time, if it's going to be of any consequence, it can be recut. So identifying a diamond is extremely, extremely hard.
Beth Ann.
Thank you. This is going back into the past, because I have a real interest during the Alhambra decree times when the Jews were expelled from the Iberian Peninsula. And so are you saying, one, that they were very involved in the 1490s in cutting diamonds? But I got the impression that when they all had to flee, they weren't really able to take a lot of things with them. So I just sort of, and then they fled and then had to redevelop, because I know they also got kicked out of Portugal. So I thought maybe if you could help me with that understanding.
From what I read and the research, the diamond industry flourished in Antwerp. And what the Jews became, they went from Spain to Portugal, Portugal to the Netherlands. And they got into that business because they were borrowed from the other guilds. So it was not a choice. It was, this is where the opportunities lent themselves. Whether there was a flourishing diamond industry in Spain, I'm not knowledgeable of that. And none of the information that I researched talked to a diamond industry in Spain at all.
Thank you.
If I may add, Cary, you must remember just a lot of Jews, when we came over from Europe, went into groceries, peddling. This is something that is always needed. We've tried to stay in businesses that can't be overlooked. Jewelry and gold is portable. When you look at the Middle East and you see the different cultures, you notice, for example, you'll notice, and I think everybody remembers when women had bracelets around their arms and you saw them bracelets around their wrists. This is portable wealth. And Jews have always kept portable wealth for an able to, they might be said, you have to move now. And gold is portable, but they kept it in jewelry. Diamonds are portable because you can sew it into your clothing, which this happened in the Holocaust. You heard about it there, but it's been done always.
One of the things about diamonds, and going back to Marco Polo, is that they were currency. People were actually buying product using raw diamonds. And the carat was the measure of the weight,
Carob seed.
right?
It came from the carob seed.
Carob seed on a scale.
That's right.
So that's how they measured the weight of the diamonds.
Anne Klein had a question.
Just, I was listening, but I must have missed this. Are chocolate diamonds considered low quality?
No, they're considered, as Kenny alluded to earlier, a fad. The demand for chocolate diamonds was a fad type of thing. In fact, it was a marketing thing to make you interested in buying something that was not a pure, clear diamond. So when you talk about the four C's, clarity is one of them. And you're not going to get that with a chocolate diamond or a champagne diamond. So it was trying to sell like a fashion thing, but it's not a high demand product. And I think I'm correct in that, Ken, right?
Definitely. And also that applies to, if you remember a couple of years ago, black diamonds.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Thank you.
Lois.
Just a quick question. I understand that the Jews dominate in the polishing of stones. I take it 47th Street is mainly a wholesale operation then. Do we also dominate in the retailing of diamonds, or what's our penetration there?
I think let me start this and Kenny finish it.
Sure.
There's a thing in marketing, Lois, called the channel of distribution. Okay. The source of the diamonds is, let's stay with one spot. Let's talk about South Africa. That's the beginning of the channel of distribution. The raw diamonds then go either up to Antwerp or to Israel to be made marketable, to be cut, sorted, and then they're sold to 47th Street. I'll let Kenny take over from there.
It's a natural progression. You have the diamond, you have it cut, you've got to get rid of it, and you give it to others, but then you get smart and you want to take a part of it. It's just like Rhodes. He supplied the mining equipment. It was the pumps for water, etc. And people owed him money, and when they went bust, he took it over, and it just grows. Jewish people were very, very heavy in retailing, and now you're seeing something happening. Everything is changing right now quite a bit. It's a heavy change. By the way, the U.S. does have some fantastic cutters that came over here, and they cut some large diamonds here in the United States. This is the multi-million-dollar diamond where a diamond cutter will sit down and they can spend 3 to 6 months or longer studying a diamond before they cleave it. Because if they hit it wrong, it sounds crazy. Let's say this 50 carat piece or 100 carat piece of raw diamond can split into little pieces. So it's interesting how we've progressed.
So just to follow up, am I correct then in saying that 47th Street it's a wholesale operation and a retail operation as well?
Yes.
I would say it's more distribution. That people do buy diamonds on 47th Street, but that's what Kenny would go to get diamonds for his business when he had it on Wisconsin Avenue. So it's a distribution point as well as a sale point.
Thank you.
Audrey.
Lois, this is a recommendation. When we're done with the pandemic and the next time you go to New York, take yourself to 47th Street. You'll think you are in Wonderland. It's not just wholesale. Trust me, I've been there.
Yeah.
But
Before you do that, read my book on negotiation.
Yes.
Are there any folks that are not on video that would like to ask a question? You can unmute yourselves. All right. If you want to in the future, just unmute yourselves and you can certainly ask a question. I see. I'm just looking for anyone new.
Beth Ann.
Oh, yeah, Beth Ann and George. Beth Ann first, then George.
I'm not new though.
No, that's fine.
Hey, so another question, historically, was the diamond trade active on the Silk Road that time period and everything?
Yeah, Marco Polo's entire route, which also went through Nigeria and Northern Africa, found its way into China and through the Silk Road. And again, diamonds was one of the currencies used to pay for goods. So that's how they found their way into other countries. An interesting side point about the Silk Road and Marco Polo. I had a graduate student that was from Nigeria. He was an Ubu tribesman. And he asked me if he would do some research on Judaism. And I said, why? He said, because it seems that all our holidays fall at the same time as your holidays, our harvests and our other things. And they also practice circumcision. So I sent them to the Federation to do some research and found out that there were Jewish traders in Nigeria, and many of the Nigerian tribes adopted Jewish traditions as a result of that.
That's right.
Back to George.
For more information about Jews among the African tribes, talk to Chazan Stein at Beth Israel near Tamid. But my question is, the Jews who were expelled from Spain and then Portugal and go up to the Netherlands. The Netherlands was also part of the Spanish Empire at the time. And if they were fleeing the Catholic Church, the Inquisition, and so forth, was there a pre-existing diamond industry in the Netherlands, Amsterdam, Antwerp, for when the Jews got there in the 1490s, 1500s?
I believe in some of the information that I read, George, there was a fledgling industry at one time there. We know, again, that there was Ashkenazi Jews there since 1200. Whether or not they were in the industry, the big thing was the discovery of the polishing tool that led to the expansion of the industry. Until then, it was all handmade, hand done. So it was a very small industry.
If I may just add something, this being a Jewish organization, the rabbi will be very happy to hear that if you notice, this is my feeling, if you notice that there's so many Jewish people involved, and I place that also as Jewish ethics have entered into the business. As long as I was in the business, a handshake or just the word over the phone, your word, brought in any amount of diamonds or jewelry that was wanted. It was ethics. It was Jewish ethics. You hear all about it. There was just a movie. I can't remember the movie about, it was Sandler. There was just a movie, and it showed him in the jewelry business. And when I went to the movie with my wife and some friends, they were shocked because it was very brutal. But basically, this is how it is in New York. Small cubicles, hundreds of businesses, very cutthroat, but there is an ethics involved. And the only sad thing is that after what is that? My wife just showed me something. Uncut Gems. The movie was Uncut Gems. And as I was getting older and I was starting to be asked, would you sign the receipt or for the bill or the consignment? And it was almost like an insult because the next generation didn't want to necessarily, it's not they didn't trust you, but I don't think they understood Jewish ethics. So it's a little side point that comes into Judaism, in my mind, very heavily.
It's also among the Hasidim. If you give your word, if you shake the hand, the deal is done.
Mhm.
Yeah, you were ostracized if you did something wrong. That's the shunda. If you remember the shunda.
Do you have any other additional questions?
I saw Julie Feldman. Does she have a question? I saw her face in the screen. So let me ask a question as the presenter. What's the most important thing you took away from the presentation? Any volunteers?
Beth Ann?
Well, quite a bit, actually. I found the presentation very interesting. I hadn't given that much thought, and I didn't realize how the diamonds, how they traveled all around to different countries, all of them. But the big thing is the significance of the cutting machines. You know, to have that versus hand cut, having machinery, and the value and how you can control. Like you said, people would lose businesses, but they'd have the machinery and then they'd take over. So I thought that was really very new and interesting for me too.
But just the cutting itself can be a topic. If it's presented, it's amazingly interesting, because even though they had the scale, they didn't have well-cut diamonds, but it led into this over the next 400 or 500 years. And if you ever go into any museums, they usually have some form of display of diamonds or ask for it. Now that we're all mostly forced to be home, you can go into the internet. There are so many museum topics that you can find, from the old cut, the uncut, the European cut. It's just amazing how many, what has transpired over the years.
Anybody else, Andrew? George?
The role, I was very impressed with the role of diamonds, as Kenny said, the portability, and relating to the survival of the Jewish people, that we were able over the millennia, perhaps, to use diamonds and or gold dust or whatever to do that, so that we as a people could survive all the persecutions we got from other religions, other nationalities, etc.
Beth Ann, you have another one?
Well, I was just going to say, I thought about this a long time ago. I had a client once who bought gems. He was from Malaysia, and he wasn't married. Not that a man can't buy gems, but I said to him, I said, "Why do you buy gems?" And he said, "In case I have to flee." This is about 20-something years ago. Well, no, maybe 20, 30 years ago. And I hadn't given it any thought, but from that day forth, I realized my sterling silverware would not be easy to transport.
Mhm.
No.
So thus I have always thought about that. Yeah.
I think the most interesting point I found during the research was the fact of how many countries were involved in the establishment of the diamond business and in the flourishing of the diamond business, and that how they decided, the Oppenheimers, that Israel should be a place where the diamond polishing should take place after the war.
Can I ask you another question?
Sure.
Sorry, but I once went into a gold mine in Colorado, and they didn't dig gold because the price of gold was too expensive at that time. I think that that mine has since been cut and utilized, but the gold had to be a certain price to be able to afford to do that. Is that the same with diamonds?
Well, they control the amount of diamonds on the market is controlled. I don't know what the number is, but I'm positive within the South African mines, there are diamonds that are being held back in order to keep the price of diamonds up.
The fine diamonds is a problem. The finest diamonds are getting to be rare. Cary, I just like to add a comment if I may. I appreciate your inviting me on, and Emmanuel also. And I'd like to give you a little tidbit when you mention about jewelry and art, investment and value. Just remember, when you buy, a lady buys a blouse, a man buys a watch, or should I say a lady buys shoes and a man buys watches. These are big things. It's to you. And then be careful, because in 1980 and 1990, they were touting, you were getting calls, buy rubies, buy emeralds, buy diamonds, hold them, they're going to go crazy. Well, when we were in business, people were running in and saying, can you get this for us? And we said, we can get it, but we're not going to unless you know what you're doing instead of wanting to invest. Comes 2006, 2007, actually 2000, and people were bringing in 20, and in the tens, 2010, they were bringing tons of this stuff in, all certified, all with big papers. And we want to sell it. It's 30 years later. This has got to be valuable. Doesn't work that way, because anything, it's like, was it Buffett that said, if it's too good to be true, it's too good to be true.
Anybody else, Andrew?
I believe Dan had a comment. Dan Wilkinson.
All right. Cary, my thing that I noticed was 1492 is like a Tisha B'Av. So many things come back to that date for the Jews. And the other thing I wanted to say on behalf of our president, Robert Jacobs, and all of Brotherhood, we want to thank you for this presentation.
Well, thank you.
Mark Holland.
Yes, what I liked about the presentation was the overview. Since I had absolutely no knowledge of the diamond industry, obviously I had an awareness of what happens a little bit in New York, but I like the way you presented it, like as the overview side of it.
Well, Mark, you had a lot to do with this. You're the one who kept on motivating me about it.
Thank you.
Does the rabbi want to say anything, Andrew?
I'm right here, Cary. I just want to say thank you. You've taken us from cowboys to pirates to diamonds to your own childhood growing up in New York. And it's very exciting because, in a sense, as your journey takes us to these different places, you share that with us and take us to places that we've never gone before. So even though we are kind of all stuck in our homes, wherever they may be right now, you take us on these fascinating journeys, and we thank you.
Well, I was thinking about doing Jewish astronauts, but that was a very short topic.
Not as short as you may think, you know. If you look historically now, though, you won't find any among the original Mercury 7.
No, but my next presentation, and Mark and I have discussed this, and we haven't scheduled yet, is the Kinder Transport, the 10,000 Jewish children that were saved from the Holocaust in 1939. And I've read a number of books on it, articles, and you wouldn't believe the people that are involved in our society today that were members of the Kinder Transport. Very famous people, including one from the city of Milwaukee. And Mark knows who I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Although Shalom, he should rest in peace.
And again, that's also a topic that those who were on the Kinder Transports, those who are still with us, aren't going to be with us that much longer.
So that's another topic I'm willing to do. In fact, the presentation is done.
So we just have to schedule it, right?
Yes, sir. It was done. It's done for the mood 2021, which I don't know when it's going to happen.
So I don't know where that was coming from. Anyhow, so Cary, we hope that the next one will be scheduled soon. If it's going to be looking at kinder transports, then we should try to schedule that very soon, I would hope. You're doing Limud back out in Arizona, right?
Yeah, that's February 2021.
And when is Limud scheduled back in Chicago and here? Susan, do you know?
Chicago is in August. It's like in about a week, I
Oh
believe.
my gosh, okay.
And then I do not know if we have a local one scheduled yet.
Well, they had reached out from Chicago, so we should look for a date. Could we get a preview of this, Cary, before you do it for Limud out in Arizona?
It's done.
So let's try to schedule this maybe even before the holidays or right around the holidays. Okay?
Otherwise, maybe around Kristallnacht would be lovely too.
About when, Susan?
But you'll be back. But I was thinking for around Kristallnacht, because if we're doing it remotely, you could still be in Arizona and we could still have you present it here.
No problem. But I think what I want to do is I'll send it to you and to Mark and to Andrew to preview to see if there's things that you'd like to see added.
Okay.
But there are some personal stories in there about people that have survived the Holocaust. There's numerous numbers of winners of prestigious awards in industries that were children of who were saved. And the biggest pity is the children were saved and the parents were lost.
Yes.
Yeah, to you, Cary, Ken, and to you also, our deepest thanks. Is that a serious request, Beth Ann, the one that we're all seeing right now? There's something else to look at.
There's kinder transport information on that.
Yes.
If you did you read it? Did you?
No, I didn't.
Yes.
I read what you sent. Yeah.
I know, that's nice that you did that. No, but there's talks about people, and that might be helpful when you're doing your presentation, Cary. Thank you.
What's
Thanks,
that?
Susan.
I'm sorry, I missed the comment.
Oh, the book is called The Mezuzah and Madonna's Foot.
Mezuzah.
In Madonna's Foot. And it takes, this author goes back to Spain and interviews families there. There's one family in particular that they had to keep coming back and asking the mother and coming back and asking the mother. It was very, very sad to get the emotion from that person as they had to give up their child to go on the transport. So you might, I was just mentioning it. Sally, do you agree?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and the interesting story is there were many reunions of families. People who survived the Holocaust were reunited with their children. And there were marriages as a result of teenagers meeting. All sorts of good things came out of this. And if you multiply it, out of the 10,000 that were saved, is probably almost 100,000 Jews today.
That's something special. Yeah.
So
I'm psyched.
So again, our deepest thanks, and to all of you, may you all continue to please be in good health. And again, our next two things coming up, Tuesday evening, we're joining in with The Color of Love, Mara God's book. We're one of the co-sponsors. That's at 7:30. And then Wednesday evening, of course, as someone already mentioned, it is Tisha B'Av. And so our observance will begin also at 7:30 that evening.
Well, thank you for having us. We really appreciate the opportunity to share the research and the knowledge that we've gained.
Thank you. Thanks
Thank
to everyone
you, Cary.
for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ken.
Thank you.
Have a wonderful day, everyone.
Thank you, Andy.